Hi, I'm lISA lOGAN. Welcome to Forsaken Parents. For parents who have been estranged by their adult child and are suffering, there isn't one of you who wouldn't suffer, and a ton of people who have not been estranged become estranged, but would suffer terribly if they also did become estranged. I happen to know I have a really good friend, and he's famous. But his greatest fear, because I talked to him about what I was doing, and his greatest fear, and he confided that to me, is that he would become an estranged parent. And what I call us is a forsaken parent. And we're going to start out every video now, because when I put words that I think you might be looking up on the internet and find me with those words, I always put suicide prevention and panic attacks or anxiety attacks. So I thought I should mention, because I have a tape on panic attacks or anxiety attacks. So if you're struggling with that, and that's why you're here, is because you looked me up and found that I do something with suicide prevention and anxiety attacks or panic attacks, I need to mention it every time because so many of you suffer. I don't know of anyone, but I know that there are some, but I haven't met them yet, who have not considered committing suicide. We don't do it, but we think about it because we have so much pain. So, yes, I do work with it. Yes, I do very much care about it. You have reached the right place. I would like to tell you that I have made a video about suicide prevention for forsaken parents and another video about panic attacks or anxiety attacks. Please look those videos up. And if you would like, please write to me at Forsaken Parents. That's not bad. That's not bad. ForsakenParents@gmail.com. I will answer your letter. I'm real good about answering every single letter I get. And I told you yesterday, I'm calling them letters. I know they're emails. To me, in my heart, I am receiving letters from you. And also, today I'm on the other side of the studio. The garden part with all of the greenery is on that side, and this is my foo-foo part. Okay, time for an advertisement. I'm going to do an advertisement of a different product that I have made that you are welcome to purchase. More than welcome, because what it's going to do if you do purchase it is every cent that I make off of it, I have to pay the printer, and I have to, that's really all. And on some, I have to pay the postage. What I'm offering you today, I'm paying the postage on for you. Here it is. This is today's ad. Okay. These are like postcard size. On one side, you get 3 for $5, by the way. And I pay the postage. The postage on the book is real expensive. The postage on this I can absorb. I'll pay it myself. It's okay, because I want you to have these. Let's see. This is on the first side, the front side. It is a picture of me, but also, there we go. It's all backwards. But also an explanation of where to find all of the videos and why I've made them. But on the other side is the poem that I've written, so it's not really a postcard, it's just postcard size. The poem is because when you tell someone that you're an estranged parent, a forsaken parent, first thing out of their mouth is, what'd you do? What did you do to your child? You've got to know what you did, and it's not true. So I made something that you can give out instead of standing there and saying, I did nothing, and feeling like you're going to cry and fall apart. I do. Every single time I hear that stupid statement. What did you do? I don't want to say a swear word. The sorrow, this is the poem. The sorrow of a forsaken parent. Estranged parents are rightfully called forsaken parents, rejected by their adult child for reasons not understood by them. They live with a fear of being permanently banished from their family. That's true. You know that's true. It's the biggest thing that we're going through, that fear. It is true that the death of one of their children would be more cruel. Yet the sorrow of the forsaken parent, the not knowing why, the not knowing when, the not even knowing if, then many choose not to survive, for their sorrow has overwhelmed them. It should not be, for this is a parent who has loved, not abused, their child. And this, then, is the shame of a new millennium. Written by Lisa Logan. I love you guys. I'm so corny. But that's a good poem, don't you think? Don't you think I've covered all the bases? That's a little shortened version of the big poem that I'll bring you in tomorrow. Okay. Yesterday we were talking, this is part 2 of yesterday's video. We were talking about a letter that was written to a son-in-law by one of the women who watches. And what had happened, and I only got to half of the letter, so actually not as much. It's okay if it takes us 3 or 4 videos to get through this. I got emails from you, letters. I know they're emails. I call them letters. And okay. And you said you really understood what this woman was writing. And I knew you would, and that's why I asked for permission to reword this letter. Here's the letter. And it's all in big print so I can read it. And, yep, you need to hear it. And it's going to bring up some ideas for you. And it's a very long letter. I always think we should make our letters short if we write a letter, okay, to our adult child or our son-in-law, our daughter-in-law, anybody. I think they should be short. She didn't make this short. I shortened it already. It was much, much longer. Okay. His name, I have given him the name, the son-in-law, Chuck. What did I give the daughter? Wasn't Shelley. Wait a minute, I forget. Sally. And 2 grandchildren, both boys. One is named, I gave him the name of Bobby, and the other one is named Joshua. Little Josh. Okay. And the beginning of this page, she starts in on a new, but the thing is, evidently this woman had been talking to her son-in-law's mother. They met for I don't think they ever saw each other, but they had Thanksgivings and Christmases and things together. That's a nice thing. That's a good thing when parents can do that for their grandchildren's sake, when they become good friends among themselves. I know that in my family, when I was being raised, my aunt on my dad's side was like the grandmother, because his mother had died when he was 14 years old. So my aunt took the place of the grandmother, and then my grandmother on my mother's side, they didn't like each other at all. And so we never had holidays together. What I decided, and also my son-in-law's mother, we both decided that it was very important to us, for our family's sake, to remain friends. And we did that. Okay, so this is a woman who did that as well. And but at some point, before she wrote this letter, her son's mother said, her son-in-law's mother said, "Why have you done this? Why don't you get back with your family?" And she said at the end of the conversation, because she explained that she had not in fact done this at all, and she said at the end of the conversation, "You know, your son started this." And everything broke loose. Then, not a good thing. It doesn't have to have been a bad thing, but it was misunderstood. And this is her letter of explaining to him why she said what she said. Okay, so you have to go back to yesterday's video. I don't know, what's the date today? The 16th? No, that's impossible. I can't read it. 18th? Something. So that would be the 17th yesterday. Okay, it was never okay for Bobby, that's the first grandson, to be alone with me. Now this is her words to her son-in-law. Nothing was ever okay that I did, but I do have pictures of the two of us. That would be her first grandchild, little Bobby, and her together. But I do have pictures of the two of us together, and he was having fun. Those are the only pictures I have of me with my family. I wish some had been taken of me with Josh. That's her second. But by then your discomfort with me had gotten larger. You did that, Chuck. That's the theme through this letter. I think we're almost done with that theme. When Bobby was 3 years old, I asked you and Sally if he could come outside and stay with me in the backyard. You both said that it was okay for my grandson to spend the night, but at the last minute you came out and got him and said that it was better for him to stay in his own bed. And he also said that he wanted his grandson to come in because he didn't feel like his grandson was safe. The trailer evidently was parked in the backyard of their lot, of their acre, I don't know. And she was going to have him as her guest. Okay. And what this says in effect, because it's a harsh lesson for a little boy, what his father was telling him was, you're only safe with your mother and father. More than just a little overprotective, especially since I'm not some kind of a monster. I raised Chuck quite successfully, the woman who you chose to be your wife. But I heard that same message from you when he was only a month old. Didn't I? And I say with strong conviction, you started it, Chuck. What she's talking about is that her son, and she was holding her baby, her new grandchild, in her arms and sitting on their couch. Chuck came up and said, I'll take him. And it was shocking. And then what she heard very loudly was Chuck saying to his grandchild, a tiny baby of a month old, that he was only truly loved by his mother and father. And that would be the way it was always going to be. The only people who really loved and cared about him were his mother and father. She didn't understand at that point why her son-in-law was saying something like that to her new little grandson. It is a very strange thing. Okay, well, what did you come up with for why you think he said it? Okay. During all of this time, during his important formative years, Bobby heard messages verbally and physically that I wasn't a part of his family. You all have that going on. At least all of you that have written to me about it. It's such a pattern. You're not good enough. You're bad. You shouldn't be with your grandchildren. It's not true. if we don't do anything else, I'd like us to pass a law that says we have the right to see our grandchildren and to be with them. It's crazy. It is. And it's not true. We're getting blamed for something we never did. That I wasn't to be trusted with him. And later, his younger brother learned the same messages. I'm not sure I should tell you this. This might be too descriptive. She ended up helping the family raise the second child. That's so common for all of you. You write to me and you say, I had them live with me because my daughter or my son needed my help. They lived with me. I helped them raise my grandchild. And now I don't even get to see my grandchild. I'm so sorry. I mean that. But his love of me, this is her second grandchild, little Josh, but his love of me is gone now because his mom and dad tell him he doesn't need me anymore. And they also tell stories about me. He hears those stories, and he doesn't want me to come over anymore either. That's so common. I'll tell you something. When I was married to my daughter's father, we got married, and 3 months later, we got pregnant. And 1 year later, from the time we got married, we were proud parents of a little girl. And that's my daughter. Love her so much. I ended up splitting up with her father, with my ex-husband. And I did it because he was a drinking alcoholic. And all I knew was that the person that I had known before he went to Vietnam to fight in the war was not the person who came home. And I wanted him to get sober. I didn't mean for us to ever part. I just said, leave until you get sober. Then come back home. But he never came back home. And he never quit drinking. He died when he was 60. He still was drinking. And he had cirrhosis. He must have had a terrible time with the latter part of his life, suffering from cirrhosis and continuing to drink. But the thing was that it was so painful for my daughter. And I'm trying to figure out why I'm telling you this. I wanted you to know, but I forget. Oh, darn it. Now you get to watch me forget stuff. You know it happens about what? Once every 3 or 4 tapes? Darn it. I hate it. But one of you said, I feel like I really know you and we ought to be having coffee. And I went, okay, this is me. Okay. According to Sally, the kids now don't want me to be in their family because I haven't been around to see them. And I didn't answer calls. Now, what that was about, though, was that her daughter had promised her that everything was going to be the way it used to be, and they were going to be happy again. And then her daughter stopped. That was wrong. How painful. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it up to you. I've got some ideas about why that might have happened. I'd like you to write to me and tell me what you think, why that happened. What was it that you were answering yesterday about Chuck? You said you believed that what this Chuck's mother-in-law who wrote this was, you believed that what she was saying was true and that he had started it. That was it, because I said, do you think he started it? I think I did. Okay. There were important reasons why I didn't do those things, why she didn't answer the calls, only there were only 2 or 3, and why she didn't go to the family functions, but she doesn't bring that up why here. That's a good thing, because this is a letter about Chuck starting it. And I'm sad about not having my grandchildren in my life, but I haven't done anything wrong. I'm sad because I've lost them more than anything in the world. I have missed the joy of them over these years, and what has become of the ending is what I never thought would happen, but it has happened. So what happened was that because she didn't answer the calls, and this had been going on for years and years, where she always answered the calls. There were no calls that ever came. This was at the end. The daughter knew something was going on, and so she began to call. Not a lot. 2 or 3 times was what this woman said. She just wanted the daughter to be honest about what had happened. Be honest about her daughter's part in this, because her daughter promised that everything would be different, and then it wasn't. Now, this is going to be the question today. Do you think that the daughter should have withdrawn and not listened to the calls? Not to pick up the call. Was that a good way for the daughter to, the mother to respond one more time to her daughter's estrangement of her? So I'm looking forward to your answer, what you think about that. This is a letter that's for all of us. We all have this kind of a letter inside of us. I'm probably going to read some more letters to you as we go along, because I like you to be involved in this. But what I do is I do make it so that no one would ever know, none of your family would ever know that it was about you. I even changed the incident that happened, for the most part, because that's the way it should be. I don't want you to be exposed. So your question yesterday, as you listened to that, was, do you think that Chuck started it? Say yes. And do you think that she should have handled it with her daughter the way she did? And what it led up to was the total estrangement of what she'd always feared, which was that she didn't see her grandchildren or her daughter or her son-in-law any longer. Remember that she'd been going through it for years. When is enough enough? Okay. I love you. You know I do. You hear that every single time. And we're going to talk about this after I receive your emails. And I'll talk about your response to Chuck too, because you're going to learn about letters. Okay, I love you a lot. This was so much easier today than having the fan on me with my hair blowing. And, that was just too hot yesterday. Okay, this is better. It's even a little too chilly. I'm not complaining, and I love you. And I'll talk to you tomorrow or the next day. I've got to keep on writing the book because of the publisher. I've got to get it done and see whether he wants the book or not. Okay, see you later. Thanks so much for being here, for loving me back. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.